turn into like Halloween music or something. It's like a dark turn down. It's an interesting rock up.
What was that first one that you were doing?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The first one then. Hare Krishna. How did you do it?
What?
How did it go? The first one that you were doing it. Can I?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
No, Hare Hare. That one. The one that ends like that.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Like a two-part thing.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Viva el San Vishnu Paraparamahamsa Parivajapacharya Ashotara Tata Sri Sriman A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Paraparamahamsa Parivajapacharya Ashotara Tata Sri Sriman Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara, Sri Vaswadi, Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shamakud, Radhakud, Giri Govardhana Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mathura Dham Ki, Navadvip Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulasi Devi Ki, Yamuna Mai Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada Hladayine.
Prahlada Hladayine.
Hiranyakashi Purvashaha.
Hiranyakashi Purvashaha.
Shilatanka Kalaye.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Yeah, that'd be nice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Okay.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita today. So anybody remember the chapter and verse that we wrote? I think we started at 15:25. 16. Yeah, it's 25. Okay. Om Jnana Janandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurmidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swaram Bhagavadam Dadati Swapadantikam Valdeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakama Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Hitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidamscha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Hariye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. So chapter 9, text 26. I'll pass it around yeah. Text 26. Patra Pushpam Phalatoyam Yogi Vyaresti Kalaham Yupadikam Ashnami Vedasana. Translation. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Purport. Here, Lord Krishna, having established that he is the only enjoyer, primeval Lord, and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what types of sacrifices he desires to be offered. If one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme in order to be purified and to reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then he should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked for. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water be given to him, and he says of this offering, quote, I will accept it. Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper foods for human beings, and are prescribed by Lord Krishna himself. Whatever else we cannot be offered to him, he will not accept it. Thus, we cannot be acting on a level of devotion, of loving devotion, if we offer such foods. In the third chapter, verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and released from the clutches of the material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says, in the same verse, are said to be eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature, but preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them for the picture or deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such a humble offering, enable one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body, and to create fine brain tissue which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be. Yet, he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation, in serving, and in an offering is to act with love for Krishna. The impersonalist philosophers, who wish to maintain that the absolute truth is without senses, cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad Gita. To them, it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of the Gita. But, in actuality, Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the functions of any other sense, This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences. In the seventh chapter, Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so, in this instance, Krishna's hearing the devotee's words of love and offering foodstuffs is wholly identical with his eating and actual tasting. This point should be emphasized because of his absolute position. His hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Krishna as he describes himself without interpretation can understand the supreme absolute truth. Can understand that the supreme absolute truth. Can eat food and enjoy it.
Page 27. You want me to read this in speak?
If you feel comfortable.
Translation. O son of Kuti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as offering unto me. Thus, it is the duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to do work for maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna recommends herein that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called Vajrayana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditation process, which is not practiced in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra around his feet, he is surely the greatest yogi, as substantiated by the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
Text 28. Shubha Shubha Phalevam Mokshasya Dharmabandhanai Sannyasa Yoga Vimukto Mahapeshyasi. Translation. In this way, you will be freed from all reactions to good and evil deeds. And by this example of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. Purport. One who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called yoga. The technical term is Chitta Vairagya. This is further explained by Rupa Goswami as follows. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called Chitta Vairagya. Actually situated in renunciation, such actions clear the will of the mind, and as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. By this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahmajyoti, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly mentioned here, Mam Shasi, he comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. There are 5 different stages of liberation. And here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting his body, go back to Godhead and engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who has no other interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord will actually some mercy. Such a person always thinks of himself as an independent servant. Such a person always thinks of himself as an independent servant, dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. But although the pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed realities, actually it is not so. It is said, therefore, by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a new devotee. The exact words are Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vijnana Bhujaya. A person who is thus always engaged in the service of the Lord or is always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord is to be considered completely liberated at present and in the future. His going home back to Godhead is guaranteed. He is above all materialistic criticism, just as Krishna is above all criticism.
Text 29. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name vishu stinatya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mahi te deshu chatyam. Translation. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Purport. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone, and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son, and as such he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like the cloud, which pours rain all over, regardless whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotee, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase, Krishna consciousness, suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, quote, Maite, end quote, in me, end quote. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words Asti Napriya, Ye Bhajanti. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionally, I take care of him. End quote. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here, the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service of the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world, where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate.
Text 30. Even if one commits the most abominable actions, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated. The word Sudra Charo used in this verse is very significant, and we should understand it properly. When a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activity. One is conditional and the other is constitutional. As for protecting the body or abiding by the rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities, even for the devotees, in connection with the conditional life, and such activities are called conditional. Besides these, the living entity who is fully conscious of his spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position, and they are technically called devotional service. Now, in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, the devotee is very conscious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that in perfect. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this.
Your lights? No, what? Oh, I see.
Sorry. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, the devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically, but such a temporary fall does not disqualify. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down, but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, being situated within his heart, beautifies him and excuses him from that abomination. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi, fully engaged in the service of the Lord, sometimes becomes ensnared, but Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path, for, as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course as soon as the devotee is situated in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person who is situated in Krishna consciousness and is engaged with determination in the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, should be considered to be in a transcendental position, even if by chance or accident he is found by fall. The words Sador Eva, he is saintly, are very emphatic. They are a warning to the non-devotees that because of accidental fall down, the devotee should not be derided. He should still be considered saintly, even if he has fall down accidentally. And the word Madhyava is still more emphatic. If one does not follow this rule, he derides his devotee for his accidental fall down, then he is disobeying the order of the Supreme Lord. The only qualification of a devotee is to be unflinchingly and exclusively engaged in devotional service. The mark of his spot, which may be seen on the moon, does not become an impediment to the moonlight. Similarly, the accidental fall down of a devotee in the path of saintly character does not make him abominable. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in transcendental service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. Devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to such fall downs, as previously explained. No one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a high devotee.
Text 31. Shikram Bhakti Dharmatma शश्वच्चन्तं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्त्या प्रणश्यति. Translation. Translation. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Purport. This should not be misunderstood. The seventh chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in Christian activities cannot become devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. The question remains that how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or intention, be a pure devotee? This question has justly been raised. This question can justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the seventh chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the nine kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous striving of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But here there is no such condition because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee, due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of God constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare should be continued without stoppage. This will protect a devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations.
Text 32. Mami Parta Vipashritya Yevisu Papayanaya Striya Vaishyas Tasujas Deviyanti Paramrite. Translation. O son of Pratap, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, as well as shudras, workers, can approach the supreme destination. Purport. It is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower or higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are none. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called Chandalas, Bhagavas, can be elevated by association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to the most simple man takes the most simple man taking center of the pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. According to the different modes of material nature, men are classified in the mode of goodness, brahmanas, the mode of passion, kshatriyas, or administrators. The mixed modes of passion and ignorance, Vaishyas, are merchants, and the mode of ignorance, Shudras, or workers. Those lower than them are called Chandalas, and they are born in sinful families. Generally, those who are born in sinful families are not accepted by the higher classes, but the process of devotional service and the pure devotee of the Supreme God are so strong that all the lower classes can attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes center of Krishna. One has to take center completely of Krishna. Then one can become much greater than great jnanis and yogis.
Text 33. Translation. How much greater then are the Brahmanas, the righteous, the devotees, and saintly kings, who in this temporary miserable world engage in loving service and community. Purport. In this material world, there are classifications of people, but after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It's clearly stated here. Anatyam asukam lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some of the philosophers, especially the minor philosophers, say that this world is false, but we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false, it is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, quote, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to God, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of God, so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect.
Text 34. Manmana bhavalam bhakto madhyajnamaskuru mami vaishyasi yuktayanam atmanam namparayana. Translation. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Offer obeisances and worship me. Be completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes, unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Amapashya, comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi, verse 41 to 48. Quote, Dehane vipedoyam nishware vidyate kvachet. End quote. Which means that there is no difference in Krishna. That the Supreme Lord between himself and his body, but because they do not know the science of Krishna, the commentators hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind, from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some have made profit of misleading people. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as an enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continually. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Otherwise, understanding Krishna from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme. He should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds and thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity, engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer into the Christian Lordhood. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. In the 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita, pure devotional service to the Lord has been explained. Apart from the yoga of knowledge and mystic yoga of fruitive activities, those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal, Brahmajoti, and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be the perfect saintly person. His accidental, non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to this process of Krishna consciousness. And happily live in this material world, you will eventually receive the supreme reward of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, titled The Opulence of the Absolute. Text 1. Sanskrit. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bhuyaya Mahabaho Shruti Paramam Vachaha Yatoham Priyamanaya Yakshami Hitat Kamyaya. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, my dear friend, my beloved Arjuna, listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit, and which will give you great joy. Parama. The word Parama is explained thus by Parashara Muni, one who is full in 6 opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation is Parama, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all the 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now, in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme Lord, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to gain Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because he is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Text 2. Translation. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally
that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So, what is the position of the so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why the Supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such commonplace and yet wonderful activities. One should know, then, that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation, and they have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also it is clearly said that even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of God. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the opposite conclusion of impersonalism of something not manifested by the three qualities of material nature, or they can imagine something by mental speculation. But it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, quote, I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am supreme, end quote. One should know this. Although one cannot understand and conceive of the Lord, who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The impersonal Brahman can be conceived by persons who are already in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy, he descends to show favor to such speculators. Yet despite the Lord's uncommon activities, these speculators, due to contamination of material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the supreme. Only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand, by the grace of the Supreme Personality, that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord. And that out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree, what is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship.
Text 3. Yomajam anadicca vedi loka maheshwaram asamamudha samanteshu sarvapapa pramuchite. Translation. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginning of this, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he, undiluted among men, is free from all sins. Purport. As stated in the 7th chapter, those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. But out of those who are actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the provider of everything, the unborn. The unborn is the most successfully spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be completely free from all sinful reactions. Here, the word ajam, meaning unborn, should not be confused with the living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as ajam. The Lord is different from the living entities who would take birth and die due to material attachment. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies, but his body is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as the same unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter, it is said that the Lord, by his eternal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always the superior energy. He was existing before the creation, and he is different from his creation. All the demigods were created within this material world, As far as Krishna is concerned, it is said that he is not created. Therefore, Krishna is different even from the demigods, like the great demigods, like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma, Shiva, and all of the demigods, he is the supreme person of all planets. Sri Krishna is therefore different from everything that is created, and anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from all sinful reactions to be in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. One should not try to understand Krishna as a human being, as stated previously. Only a foolish person thinks him to be a human being. This is again expressed here in a different way. A man who is not foolish, who is intelligent enough to understand the constitutional position of the Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. If Krishna is known as the son of Devaki, then how can he be unborn? That is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transformed himself into an ordinary child. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. It cannot be contaminated by the material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in the material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there is nothing auspicious in the material world. Everything is inauspicious, because the very material mass is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Real auspiciousness depends on activities of the Christian consciousness in full devotion and service. Therefore, if we all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Such directions are given in authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons, and scriptures direct in the same way. There is no contradiction in these three sources. All actions done under such directions are free from the reactions of pious or impious activities of this material world. The transcendental attitude of the devotee in the performance of activities is actually that of renunciation. And this is called sannyas. Anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the man who has simply taken the dress of a sannyasi or a pseudo yogi. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.